Are you interested in beautiful landscape and all new cars? Well, then you're right here at Autogefühl with the all new Nissan Juke. This new generation, a full tour on exterior, interior, and today the driving experience here on Autogefühl with Thomas and Jonas behind the camera. And you know, here you will always enjoy it in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! The new Nissan Juke is still built in Sunderland in the UK, but it sits on an all-new platform that promises more stiffness in riding, for example. We'll see out how it plays out later for the driving part. In the front you can see, well, it's maybe not that dramatic as before. This car has always, actually been love or hate, something like that. But most people loved it, therefore it has been sold over 1 million times. And here the new front, it still keeps this round shape, also with the round light element right there. But headlamps now come LED as standard and this very slim daytime running light right there. This one is the N design line, a sporty trim. There you can also see the contrasts in the lower part, here also with this gray element and the black one, so a little bit more dramatic. This will be carried out all over the car. You can also go with the base version, this one and here, this, the even more stylish one. The length of this new generation, 4 meters 21, 13 foot 8 or 166 inches. That's 8 centimeters or 3 inches more than before. And the wheel size start with 16-inch steel, then 17-inch aluminum, and those ones directly in the N design pack, 19-inch, the biggest ones available. We'll see out how that plays out for the riding comfort. Also with black accentuations, look pretty cool. Then the crossover cladding right there, and also this N design pack with the glossy black elements here in the lower area. Other than that, also typical Juke style, then with contrasting roofs available. Soon I will also show you some other colors. You can tell me which one is your favorite for today. Here, of course, it works very well with the white and black contrast to be even more dramatic. The doors here in the rear, they open right there. That's interesting. Soon more to that. Also in the interior part. What's a nice door closing sound here. Yeah, it's always important to leave all windows up, then you have a better sound, of course. And then here, pretty strong shoulders for such a rather small crossover car. And then really standing out to those tail lamps here. We'll soon take another detailed look at that. Definitely a little bit more modern than before and a little bit more grown up. Not as joyful as before maybe, but therefore maybe even more likable for an even bigger mass market. Or what's your take on this new design? There we see it. This wing-alike style or this table style here in the back. It seems to be a design scheme at the moment with Japanese cars. However, this one here also built in Europe. But let's say, with Japanese headquarters, manufacturers, that they really put this design where they make this, falling window in the rear and then create this huge area right there. It looks more dramatic, definitely, and also those tail lamps stand out really very strongly. Here also with the N design badge then, and again with the glossy black elements in the lower part. So that's it for the all-new Juke as for the overall design. This is a standard Nissan Khaki, nothing special. Yeah, maybe something more joyful would have been cool for the new Juke, but yeah, that's it, and at least it's light. You can also use the keyless entry here with pressing the button right there. Open and close, and then door closing sound in the front. Very solid, and that speaks for this new build quality they have here with the new Juke. Yes, the inside of the doors and top part, that is hardpack, but what's cool, you have an ambient light integration right there in this gap, and then this special N-design line also in the interior has a nice soft leatherette cover. It feels like in the Mercedes CLA or in the Mercedes A-Class, maybe the same supplier, so no one would guess that it's not animal sourced. It's really high-grade leatherette, really cool, animal friendly, more sustainable, less CO2 output, but still feels really great. Those inside buttons, they don't feel that good, but it's cool that we now look at details with the Nissan Juke as for build quality, because in a lot of different steps it has been massively upgraded. Inside of the doors here also bigger bottles do fit, and then you can see this one, this special black and white design line fits so well to the exterior. You don't have to go for it. I'll soon also show you a more subtle version. Here, white leatherette at the dashboard. Interesting, also soft touch leatherette black and black on top here. Then also soft touch plastics here on top of the dashboard behind it. This new steering wheel, which looks a little bit sportier than before. This special button to activate the assistance system. As for the extensive ACC with the lane assist, we'll test it out in the driving part. Then soon more deals to the dash and also infotainment system. More to the seats first. The base seat is black fabric that can also be recommended and already has the form of an integrated head restraint, and then in the N-design package here comes the same form with the integrated head restraint, but then with this hole here to add some more emotional racing style feature inspired. This one also with an optional Bose sound system where the speakers are in the head restraints. There you save some speakers at other points. You have a surround sound because it's closer to your ears and in this area. Interesting idea. And here then fabric on the inside and leatherette on the outside. Again, also animal friendly. That's a cool combination. This one here also available with a more black subtle look. I'll soon show that to you if you more prefer that, but with the same material mix. And then there's also Alcantara available, but then you will also already have some animal parts. Then getting inside, you have a new ergonomic seating position. Those sport seats here or sporty seats are also good for taller people actually, and way more ergonomic seating comfort in the previous generations. That's one of the main things I like about this new generation. So before I wasn't very comfortable feeling in the Juke, but here that's actually quite fine. Seat in the lowest position. Here that leaves a lot of headroom still with the one of these 86 or 601. For a little bit better seating comfort, I usually pump it up one or two or three times and then sit a little bit more upright as for that. Steering wheel can be adjusted two ways like this, and also they found a good process for that. You can really find a nice seating position, so everything really feels more refined than before and more ergonomic, more comfortable. That's probably the best thing about this new interior. The interior is mainly about this new build quality. Here again, this high-class leatherette dashboard, really cool, feels so soft and nice. And for example, also here, this round vent style, it looks good, and they even have a nice clicking sound when you open and close. So pretty amazing. And also this manual climate unit that you can still access very well. Jonas said it feels a little bit like a 90s stereo or something, like a hi-fi equipment. I really like the haptic feedback. Yeah, maybe because I'm also like a kid of the 90s. So with every step you have like click, click, click. Not like really much acoustic, but just how you feel it. So massively step up the game as for the this input quality, how you interact with the car, and I really, really like that. And the steering wheel also has a good size overall. Again, right side to set the adaptive cruise control, which is an option. AEB, the autonomous emergency brake, would be a standard already. Left side for the volume, and you can also control this digital screen. Soon we'll also take a detailed look to the digital screen together with the analog dials right and left. And well, this central dash then here on the right again. This is the new 8-inch 8-inch touchscreen right there, and the software still looks somehow dated already. Yeah, that's always a problem. We see that a lot with the Japanese manufacturers, that they do a lot of things really great, but then the software of the infotainment system is always dated. I have no idea why. There is a rear camera available that has, also front view, by the way. This one at the moment is the front view camera. Yeah, it's good to have it, definitely. This drone view from above, but the resolution is not the best one in this case. Here you can even, check out the alloys or the rims, wheels, right and left. Also a cool option. And here direct a hotkey to the audio function. In this case, we directly go to the CarPlay menu, or you can also go here in the main menu to the Apple CarPlay menu. That's how it looks like. Android Auto also available, and that's probably the most thing you will use then. And the Bose sound system is nice for a size, for this car size, but it's really bass heavy, so I actually tuned down the bass a little bit because it's really hammering in the bass. It's quite decent. It's not the best sound system I've ever heard, but it's also not bad, so actually quite nice, and definitely a good upgrade if you compare it to the standard sound system you have in this car. And you see here the integration is also, they use all of the screen. And in the map, yeah, I had some problems with the map. Probably also, if you have enough data connection, then just use your map you have there, with the CarPlay or with the phone connection, because here you can zoom in and out with this knob. You can also use it right here with zooming in and out, but the visualization was not that helpful. And also when I'm on the Autobahn, there was like this split view where I could not see that well where you have to go to. So yeah, not so satisfied with the GPS software. To me, the most important thing is bigger screen and the proper smartphone integration. That's good. And what's also cool, when you drive at night, you can always just, dim it down. That's a helpful feature that is then again missing with some of the other manufacturers. What else is missing right there? There's some more deals I'd like to show you. By the way, don't wonder about my sleeves. I have a short shirt underneath because I was expecting it to get warmer, so not long sleeves. So here, really big glove box with huge space, and that's sometimes really important and very useful, although it's even dampened. Nice. Then lower part of the other area, there's this USB-A supply to connect your smartphone, no inductive charging pad, and another 12-volt power supply if you want to use that one. Then here the 6-speed manual gearbox, also with ambient lighting around here, if you like. I think Jonas also has, there it is. Doesn't need some extra shots. Here's the ambient lighting. We can see it right there. Then the drive mode selector, which will more play a role when you have the automatic gearbox. Non-adaptive cup holder, so you need the right bottle size for that. And then, this whole middle console can be shaken a little bit. It's better build quality here as well, then also with a nice leather red cover right there. This is also still somewhat okay because it's squeezed in here between those seats. And when you flip that one here up, there's another cubby hole inside. So, and then here, left and right analog, speedometer and the RPMs, and in the middle then you have some digital information, for example the digital speed. That's actually quite clear and nice to read, or you can check your music or the settings for the assistance systems and so on, and it's also clear to read, so it's a mix of classic and more modern. Then I showed you before, really a clever integration right there, and the same styling here, and then the N design pack, hard pack here, but then the soft leather red right there. And if you have the Bose sound system, this one here is just a blind speaker, although it looks like that, but it's not active. Yeah, very funny. In the bass sound system will be active then, but you don't need it in the Bose sound system anymore. And here again, the nice styling also for the rear compartment with this black and white mix. And since the wheelbase has been increased, you also have some more leg room. And it's also good that you put the seat a little bit higher than your feet fit well under it. And I mean, it's not a super long car, but still the package is quite okay, and you can fit 4 tall adults here, especially as for the headroom. I can even put a hand over my head. That still works, so not plenty of space, but it's decently comfortable. You have also a rather upright seating position here. There's not a big structural middle tunnel, so theoretically you can also sit in the middle part. It's also quite soft. That does work, although it's, somewhat limited. ISOFIX here at the outside of the seats each for the child seats, and it's also quite well accessible. Then you flip the seats from here, although this flipping mechanism is not that good. Oh, yeah, that's sometimes a problem when the seatbelt is not loose. So now again, and you see it here on the top. I don't like those mechanisms where you just have to press that one in. It's easier when it's a flipping mechanism. The only thing left to show right here is that there's another USB supply, a normal USB-A. Right here, the cover here is maybe like, not that good, but, that's just a minor detail. Overall, I think also in the rear compartment, also in the rear, in the rear seating comfort, definitely a gain if you compare it to the predecessor. With 420 liters of capacity, the boot is also more voluminous than before, and you have some variation right there. There's this loading floor, you can put it out completely if you like, or you can just store it in the very low area, and that's good because then you have more height available, so it will very well fit here also with the backpack. And the maximum height right here was 53 with that, and if you then you have 1 or 2 centimeters more if you put that lower floor out completely, then at about 55 centimeters. And the normal length here is about 80 centimeters, and the width about a meter. And then you also have some more options for this floor, so you can put it on the half stage. So if you want to put something below that, for example, and just want to access it, or you can put it in the highest position, then you have less height, but you have hardly any loading still then, so that can also be cozy for everyday stuff, some groceries and so on. But you always then have the possibility if you need something more, and that was really helpful for our camera equipment and so on, then you can store definitely more. So, and you can also just grab over here, and then again, this mechanism to put those buttons in, this is really not that easy. And then again, the seatbelt is maybe blocking the whole process, so flipping those seats is not that easy, to be honest. Then I have to go here and check in, and seatbelt is absolutely tight now again. That's really a problem. Now finally I could make this seatbelt loose, and then we can flip the whole thing and we see what length we can get right there. And either you have this step then here, and to the seat as I would be driving, that would be almost 1.50 meters. And here again, this flexible boot floor plays a role, because if we want to go like this, then it makes even more sense to have an even loading surface. And what about the engines? Well, there is only one, so easy for us, easy for you, and they obviously didn't put an engine cover here yet, so also good for you. Then we can see a little bit more of this engine. And this is a 1-liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine, 117 horsepower, either a 6-speed manual gearbox or a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Yes, you heard it correctly, because there were some comments in our initial static review like, oh, again, the CVT, there was a horrible automatic gearbox. No, this one here, if you go automatic, then a dual clutch transmission, a really new one. That should improve also the automatic driving comfort. The acceleration figures, they differ just a little bit. So it's either 10.4 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour with the manual gearbox, or 11.1 seconds for the DCT. So in this case, dual clutch transmission is slower. Usually it's the other way around, but here they put a different gear ratio for the DCT to make it a little more comfortable in the ride. So there, that explains this 0.7 seconds acceleration difference. And we always like to show you some color combinations. This one, for example, black with a red roof. So please tell me which one is your favorite color for today. Of course, more combinations will be possible. For example, here, the wine red in the lower part, then with a gray contrast roof. Would that rather be something for you? Also, by the way, all the cars here with 19-inch wheels. And another variation here with the gray in the lower part and then the red as the top contrast roof. And if you like those recommended seats with fabric inside and leatherette outside in a more subtle tone, just dark neutral look, then this one is also possible. You can see here, just in black, some white contrast stitches, and also the rest of the interior here, just rather subtle, rather black. So it's also possible if you want to go for that. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new Nissan Juke, and we're here at the Montserrat Mountains, winding roads close to Barcelona, and we want to test the new agility of the Juke. This new platform was promising us more agile driving fun, and I have to say, indeed, the car does feel a little bit more agile than the previous generation. A little bit stiffer as for the chassis, you feel that. Here with those 19-inch wheels, we also have a connection to the road. Yeah, you will lose some comfort definitely in everyday driving life, but still, you know, this normal standard suspension, just one that is available for the Juke, and so far it feels like a good compromise. So it doesn't feel too soft, yet it doesn't feel uncomfortable. So suspension-wise, this is probably one of the best upgrades. However, if there are some uneven parts on the road, then you do feel you have normal suspension, non-adaptive, and you have those 19-inch wheels, which are somewhat a little bit, you know, not that forgiving then in this case. But still, as you know, as long as the road is good, it's all nice. And you see maybe also from the steering input, that feels quite natural, quite good. I don't have to steer that much, so the steering is quite progressive. I like that. I can keep my hands on the steering wheel, both hands on the steering wheel all the time, so pretty nice. Really like the steering setup they found here. The manual gearbox, which will be driven by most customers. That's also the reason I chose that one here as a primary vehicle today, because I always want to, you know, see what are the most guys going for. And shifting ways could be maybe a little bit shorter, but it's overall okay. Has a quite crisp feedback, so rather a sporty feedback than a smooth one. Here now for those winding corners, that's exactly what we would like. That feels very sport indeed. So the steering is actually quite light, yet it feels good because it's progressive, but you cannot, you know, expect the best feedback or something. Let's see when we put it in sport mode here if that's any different. In sport mode, the throttle input is increased a little bit. That's also counting for the manual gearbox, but of course the biggest difference will be when you have the automatic gearbox, because the shifting is altered then as well. Having a lot of fun here in the Juke, and it doesn't feel super SUV-ish. It rather feels, you know, like a normal hatch when driving it, just a little bit higher, a little bit crossover, and definitely having, wow, what a stunning landscape here in the morning at Montserrat, where the fog is being caught by those hills. That's really beautiful, pretty amazing. And I mean, standard mode, steering, sport mode. Is that any different? Yeah, that's very light. Sport. Yeah, there's some more resistance in the feet, in the steering wheel, so that, you know, maybe you do prefer that, you know, to have some more resistance in the steering. And I think in this case, that's actually a quite good decision. And also, since the sport mode doesn't change too much from the manual gearbox, you can also always leave it in the sports mode if you like, for example. So, to me, one of the, you know, most important things, definitely this suspension upgrade. That is definitely better than before, so more comfortable, although we have those 19-inch wheels. You maybe notice that on camera there's also not too much body roll, so that's also quite good. Here's some slalom. Again, pretty decent. So indeed, this new generation does offer you more sporty driving fun. Really like that. So maybe a little bit like in the base version, like one of the sporty versions before. And the brakes are really crisp and sharp, you know. I like that. So I like when cars have a direct brake pedal feedback, because usually in some situations you not exactly sure if you brake enough. So it's better when they react directly, and then it's also safer for you. So very nice to steer this car around here. Definitely a nice character driving wise. Yeah, this 1 liter 3-cylinder engine, it doesn't have much power. However, in, you know, situations where you don't, you know, city something, It's totally fine, and you can also use this turbo, just shift a gear down, then it has a peculiar sound, definitely, those 3-cylinder engines. So you can always have some acceleration because you have this turbo, but don't expect too much here. There's not much coming from it, but it's a small car, it's not too heavy. I think it's okay to have this one engine option. They will not offer a Nismo version, that's my information so far, because of the also like taxation and the fleet consumption stuff and the new emission laws and so on. So I guess it will be this one, maybe even on the long run. But again, for a size of that car here, I think it's still okay. Just shift down if you need some more power. And especially in those low speed areas, it's totally fine. Yeah, maybe if we get to the motorway later on, this will be something different. But we will also soon test how it behaves on the motorway. So far, really nice. Maybe a little bit more natural steering feedback I would have wished, but that's maybe just on a high scale. Overall, I think they managed it that this car is more fun to drive, even in a base version, and especially more comfortable seating wise and suspension wise. And now to some motorway driving, because that's of course also very important. At the moment we are at about 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour, and noise insulation is a little bit better than before. It's, let's say, decent, but it's not that we would say it's like super silent. That's also not the main feature of this vehicle, but still is quite okay. And it delivers us, definitely a decent calm ride overall. Not sure what that was, but what's very interesting, you can either set the normal cruise control or here on the right side of the steering wheel, then, as I told you earlier, you can set this, extensive autopilot. Well, it's not a real autopilot, but as far as it goes here. And that means that the steering is being overtaken while you should keep your hands at the steering wheel. And also the adaptive cruise control rules everything. However, here with the manual gearbox, it's of course not reducing the speed until 0 because it would stall the engine. So it's even working better than with the auto gearbox. Now we are at about 120 kilometers an hour. And still noise insulation is okay. As I said, it's not that I would say it's best in segment or something, but it's still quite decent. And gives me, a good controlled feeling of the car still. So when I'm in this, let's say elaborate assistance systems mode, we also have some curved motorways here, always close to Barcelona. And you can see here, you should not take your hands off the steering wheel. I'm just, showing you for demonstration purposes here now that now is also the warning. I should keep my hands on, but I just want to show you that it does keep the lane. It feels a little bit artificial when it's keeping the lane, so experience that somehow better already. But it's also not too bad. I've also experienced it worse, so it's like something in between. But overall, good to have the system maybe to be able to relax a little bit more. And of course, the adaptive cruise control is pretty good, and also to keep the fuel consumption quite low. And when we are, rather using cruise control and so on, we're getting, something close, or at the moment even a little bit less than 6 liters on 100 kilometers. So we're good then in the, let's say, 40 mpg US range, or higher 40 mpg UK mpg ranges. So you can score that. Of course, if you move it a little bit more agile, as we did earlier, then the fuel consumption also goes up. But you can score something like that. That is definitely possible. As for the minimum consumption, again, cruise control on the motorway is usually one of the least consumptions you'll have. And when you have some more city driving in there, then it's rather realistic, something a little bit more than 7 liters on 1 kilometers. That would be then rather in the low 40 mpg or maybe 30 something mpg ranges. Of course, the US mpg is always a little bit lower than the UK mpg figures because of the different MPG unit. And the round visibility to the front is very good, to the sides still somewhat okay, still off the design. We do have blind spot monitor, however, that's also very important for this car then. So we also save S for that respect. Some wind noises here at the 8-pillar, so again this could be a little bit better. And what we also realized, now at 120 kilometers an hour, the wind noise is predominant. But when we were driving about like 80 or something, the wind noise were not that high. And then actually there was like some kind of silent rattling sound coming from like this engine bay area. Must be some, you know, there are so many moving parts in the engine, but something is not that well insulated that you do hear that when you're driving not too fast and you're not listening to music. So I think that should be improved. I think it could drive me nuts over time. We will also try to find out, maybe drive a different vehicle later, if that was just this one vehicle or if it's you know, generally present. So we can also change the lane here. Let's see if the blind spot monitor is... It seems to be shut off because I see the triangle. Yeah, that sometimes, you know, in those test vehicles it's deactivated, and then you have to search for that. You know, that yeah, that can also drive me nuts just a little bit. See here, camera more settings, Nissan Connect service. Yeah, and definitely distracting to use the touchscreen while driving, that's for sure. I think, yeah, that's here with the safety shield. There, blind spot off, it says here. Yeah, but that also, you know, about intuitive use of an infotainment system. Ah, there it is. Blind spot warning on. Blind spot intervention on. Yeah, I like that. Do I like that? We'll find out. So I found it here now in the cockpit. So there it is. And then let's see. When I'm using the turning indicator, then it's flashing. And now let's see if this blind spot intervention works as well. Let's change here, that's possible. So, but when I use the turning indicator, yeah. So maybe that the intervention is just like, you know, this beeping. Let's see, let's turn it off. No, it's the same. So I didn't feel any blind spot intervention, you know. Maybe I have to turn the steering in advance a little bit. Let's see. No, I don't feel any blind spot intervention here so far. Yeah, we can just test it out here live for you, definitely. So what about some acceleration here on the motorway? Let me put those digital instruments to speed again, that you can check the speedometer while that. The manual gearbox here, by the way, then also on the motorway. It's nice and easy to shift. The you know, gear stick is quite long actually. We're going downhill, and as soon as we're going straight again, I want to do some more acceleration. So here the maximum speed is 120 kilometers an hour. Let's see, where's the next spot open? There's a new Seat Tarraco coming right there. It's good to be on the Thomas's driving lounge to watch some other cars. There's an Alfa Stelvio. Oh, then I think the yeah, older Passat variant. So let's go to the left lane. Third gear, 80, like 90 kilometers an hour. Third gear. Plop. That's 120. So that was 90 to 120, and yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the 1 liter 3-cylinder engine. You don't have much power when you're already at speed, so you cannot expect some wild overtaking maneuvers, and only this engine is available here. At lower speeds it's totally fine, in the city and so on. That's also where it's predominantly laid out to. So 10.4 seconds for this one for the manual, and that is 0.7 seconds faster than with the DCT. Why is that? Because of the gear ratio. They made the DCT appear very smooth in shifting, and so it's actually slower, whereas with most other cars the DCT is faster than the manual gearbox. So cruise control set again, the adaptive one. Now the speed is set to 100. There's also traffic sign recognition right there, but it's not changing the speed of the ACC. Not that elaborate, but at least it shows me in traffic signs, and then I can adjust it here at the steering wheel once again. So it's not a primary motorway vehicle or something, but it's still quite decent. The seating comfort is still good here in those sporty seats, also for taller people. That is a massive step forward if you compare it to the previous generation, because that I didn't feel that comfortable in the previous generation, to be honest. And again, sound installation, okay, better than in the previous generation, but not at the highest level. The assistance systems definitely more elaborate than before. Again, feels a little bit artificial when it steers here with me, but then again, you see here, it works actually quite flawless. Here again, but don't do this at home or in your car. Always keep your hands at the steering wheel. So yeah, so far you definitely also feel in this respect here that they refine more and more stuff about this vehicle, and overall I really like it. The driving modes, by the way, here, they won't play such an effect, eco, standard or sport. It's more about the automatic gearbox, so there's not a big effect than here on the manual gearbox, because you control it all yourself anyway. You know, it's more about the shifting characteristics. So once more, right here now uphill, we can also shift back. There's always this typical, 3-cylinder sound right here. That's always quite peculiar. Definitely this car feels more at home at slower speeds and in the city, and maybe also doing some agile driving. But still, also the motorway presentation is a step forward if we compare it to the predecessor. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Nissan Juke. The exterior, a little bit less polarizing than before, but I think that's actually a good step, because also to me, I like this one here definitely more. And the feedback we got so far with the static review was actually very, very positive. There will be still some splitting in love or hate, but I mean, it's a worldwide success definitely with this car. Just look at the sales figures. This, is really selling literally in millions. Interesting. Well, and then on the interior, since the car is a little bit bigger than before, you have especially more rear legroom. That's good and important for everyday using this car. Massive step up in the interior build quality. So a lot of single elements. They are really, really very well done now. And the best we've seen from all Nissan cars so far. So they really made a big step ahead. Also with the infotainment system, that you have a good Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connection. Interesting also with the special Bose speakers there, if you go for that option. The rest of the infotainment system, is not that much up to date as for software, but probably you will rely on your smartphone connection anyway. Also in driving, more agile driving feeling for this car, feels more refined than before. Even if you go for the automatic gearbox, you now have a proper DCT automatic transmission, so this will also help. In general, the driving feeling is a little bit crisper even in those standard versions, and especially suspension comfort has been increased together with the better seating comfort. That's probably the most important thing to me about this vehicle. Fuel consumption here with this one engine that is available, about 7 liters on 1 kilometer is a realistic one. That is 30 something mpg in US or close to 40 mpg UK. I think you can also live with that. That's normal for a car of that size with a turbo petrol engine. So it won't consume you less just because it's a small engine. Downsizing doesn't necessarily mean less fuel consumption. Is the downsizing here okay? I mean, they try to keep the price of the car low. That's also one reason why it's so successful, because you have a car that has some joy, but still is not that expensive. And especially joy also in the interior. Here, especially with this very car, with the fabric leatherette mix in black and white, and also black-white exterior. This is so well fitting together, and also sustainable and animal-friendly materials on the interior. We've seen here a couple of different combinations today. So I think that's really something pretty cool, and I like when something can be special in cars that are still somewhat affordable and not only in those high-class premium cars. Yeah, and then back to the engine where I was coming to. This one here is actually enough for this kind of car. Yeah, if you want to accelerate on the motorway, that can lack some power. So yeah, a bigger, powerful engine might be a nice option to go for. But you can also understand that they try to make it lean from the whole options and engine lineup. That's then maybe also, again, good for the customer that you can keep this base price. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to live with that. For most purposes, it will be okay. Just cannot expect a superb acceleration. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Autogefühl. Maybe also check out our static review. That was also interesting. We also showed different trims there and so on, different surrounding and so on. And also competitors of this car. A Toyota CHR, for example, would be one you could check out. And yeah, they also resemble a little bit in the design. So what's your take on this vehicle? Please put all your comments right there in our comment section. Let's discuss this vehicle and tune in next time to Autogefühl. Jonas behind the camera and Thomas in front of the camera saying goodbye for today.